What is up, you guys? I am Cassie, and today we are going over the fundamentals of squats. I'm going to show you proper form to do a squat the most effective way, and then I'm going to break down the muscle groups that we're working, and then show you a little bit more foot placement variations so that you can switch up your squats depending on what you personally want to target. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about squats, go ahead and hit subscribe because we are going to make this into a series of exercise fundamentals, so you don't want to miss out on any of the moves coming up. And then let's go ahead and get into it. Squats first. Okay, so when we are talking about squats, let's go ahead and first start off with proper form and placement for your muscles and your body. So first of all, you want to start off with your gaze nice and forward, neck nice and soft. Shoulders are down and back, chest is nice and tall, and it's going to stay nice and tall throughout the entire movement. We're going to put our feet a little bit more than hip width apart for a standard squat. Toes are facing forward. Now, when you come down and hinge at the hips, you want to think about a chair being behind you and getting those hamstrings as parallel to the ground as you can. That way, you're going to avoid bending your knees over your toes and putting strain on your knees. So when you squat down, you're going to chest nice and tall, squat and hinge at the hips, bring those hamstrings parallel to the floor, and then when you come up, squeeze those glutes. So again, from the side, my feet are a little bit more than hip width apart, shoulders down and back, chest nice and tall. My gaze is forward and my neck is soft. I'm going to hinge at the hips, make my hamstrings as parallel to the ground as I can with my range of motion in my hips. Keep my chest nice and tall. And then when you squeeze up, squeeze those glutes. So when we talk about what muscles we're actually working during a squat, for a standard squat, your toes are always going to be pointed forward. And when you squat down, the muscles most activated in your squat are going to be your quads and your glutes. You want to make sure that the weight remains in your heels. You should be able to wiggle your toes, and that way you know that you're activating the glutes instead of putting pressure on the knees. You want to sit back in it, put the weight in your heels, in your glutes, and then stand up nice and tall and squeeze those glutes. We are working the sides of our core mainly, but you should keep your core nice and engaged the entire time you're doing your squat. Almost like someone's going to punch you or you're anticipating a punch for the entire movement, making sure that your core is engaged, taking some of the pressure off of your lower back, and helping you perform the movement in general altogether. So first muscles that are working are your quads and your glutes, then your core, especially on the sides. You're also working your hips and your IT band, outer thigh. You're also going to be working a little bit of the inner thigh. You're gonna feel it in the calves and also in the front of your calves in your shin area. Another thing is make sure that when you are standing up nice and tall, you're getting that squeeze in the glutes at the top. This is going to target that glute medius muscle. So our whole squat is working the whole butt, but especially that squeeze at the end is working the sides of your butt to get that nice round shape. Okay, let's talk a little bit about adding weights to your squat. If I have my dumbbells here, I want to make sure that I'm still keeping my chest up and I'm not letting the weights pull me down, but they're just providing some resistance for my legs. So again, make sure that the weight is always in your heels and you're not leaning forward, getting those knees over the toes and then putting pressure on those knees. So shoulders are down and back. I'm gonna hinge at the hips and bring those hamstrings parallel to the ground, providing resistance with my weights. I'm going to stand up and squeeze those glutes at the top. So from the side, make sure your form is nice, chest nice and tall. You're going to hinge at the hips and squat down. Bring those hamstrings parallel to the ground and then squeeze up at the top. Keep that chest nice and tall the whole time. So just a little bit about foot placement and then we are done. For a narrow squat, you want to bring your feet pretty close together, if not completely together. This narrow squat is going to target the quads more. So I don't particularly know anyone that's trying to target their quads specifically, unless maybe you have a knee injury and you're trying to build up a little bit of strength. That would be really helpful. You can also do this down to a chair and then pop back up, and that's really, really good for strengthening the knees as well. So when you have your feet pretty close together and you squat down, you're going to be really feeling it more up here in the tops of your thighs and a little bit less in your glutes. You can still get that squeeze at the top, but it's not going to be as effective because it's not as big of a movement as when your legs are apart. Now, when we put our feet or our toes pointed outward and take it a little bit wider for like a sumo squat, where you keep your chest and your back nice and tall and you just bend down, squeeze it up. This one is going to target more of the inner thighs and that glute med that I was talking about earlier. So this is a very, very popular squat in my personal training sessions with my clients, but toes out, you wanna make sure that you're really soft on those knees. So all of the strength should be coming from those inner thighs and those glutes. I really feel it in my glutes when I'm down here too, also in the inner thigh. But when you pop up, stay nice and tall and squeeze from that inner thigh and from those glutes and keep it nice and soft on the knees. All right, you guys, that is it for squat fundamentals. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Please hit subscribe and don't miss out on the rest of this series to come. Next, we're talking lunges. And then I will see you in my next video. Hit subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. Have a good day. See you later. Get your squats on.